Hello and welcome. In ETVT 3.2 of the Teaching for Tomorrow course, you're going to review the course designs of some of your fellow participants. I'll show you how to do that in this video. Let's start by looking at what a rubric is. A rubric is an assessment tool. You can use it for assessing your own work, that is self-assessment, or you can use it if you need to assess a fellow participant's work. That's called peer assessment or peer review. Teachers and external examiners can also use rubrics when they're grading students' work. Now, why use a rubric? Well, a rubric contains some very important elements that will help you do a good and constructive review that can help the person whose work you're looking at. The rubric contains assessment criteria. Those are the things you need to look at and give feedback on. Furthermore, the rubric will describe and explain the different levels of performance a participant can reach. The rubric will describe what characterizes the unsatisfactory through to the very satisfactory and the excellent performance. In this way, it becomes easier to assess work, and it becomes easy for the person getting the review to get an overview of his/her strengths and weaknesses. A rubric should also provide space for the person doing the review to add his/her own words. What is particularly helpful is if you suggest improvements. What can the person whose work you're reviewing do to improve his/her work? Now it's time to look at how you review a course design in practice. Open the Google Doc with the course design you want to review. Create a copy of the rubric Google Doc. Insert the name of the person whose course design you are reviewing and your own name. Place the two windows side by side on your screen. This will make the task easier. Now you're ready to start the review. Study each part of the rubric carefully. Then read the corresponding sections in the course design and make a decision on what feedback to give. Let's review the section on OER, Open Educational Resources, together. This section of the rubric deals with the planning of a search for OER, the listing of OER identified, and the evaluation of these OER. It also deals with reflections on the search and the outcome of it. Having studied this section of the rubric, I now have a clear picture of the criteria and the performance levels. So I'll go and have a look at what the person whose design I'm reviewing has written about OER. I'm looking at the section with the heading Using OER, Open Educational Resources and Creative Commons Licensing. In this person's work, there is some description of the search planned and completed in order to find OER for the course. Now this is in the rubric column Satisfactory, so I will mark this passage and highlight it using yellow. Now the person can see how he/she has performed on that particular criteria. We also need to look at what OER the person has found and how she has listed it in her course design Google Doc. We can see that the person has provided a lot of information in the table. There are full references of the OER found, there are week numbers, topics, and he/she has rated each of the OER found. So this must be excellent work. I will mark that passage in the rubric and highlight it in yellow. The last thing I have to look at is the person's reflections. The person has written one line about his search, so I guess there is some reflection. I'll be nice to the person and give him/her satisfactory. He/she did at least mention her search. There we go. Now I need to type in my own feedback. What can I suggest this person to do? Well, as you can see in the table, there are lots of resources, so I could be worried that the person is putting too much of a workload on students. So I write, consider the workload of students. go, get the spelling right as well. I will also let the person know that she could have reflected a bit more on the search. So I write, it would have been helpful and interesting to know a bit more about your search and your experiences searching for OER. Finally, I would like to know if the person is interested in using OER in her course. So I write, will you be using OER in one of your courses? Why not? This is how you proceed, carefully reading each part of the rubric and the corresponding part in the course design you are reviewing. Then highlight as appropriate in the rubric so that you indicate the strengths and the weaknesses, what the person do well and not so well. Remember to be constructive and offer your suggestions for improvements. As you can see, you can end your review by summing up and providing overall feedback. I hope this video will help you make good and constructive reviews that will benefit both you and your fellow participants. Enjoy and bye for now.